story to tell, and the story scene is like our Gospels. Only, it's the modern day. It's located in Annapolis, Maryland. It's late one night into the early morning, and the police are conducting a trial of sorts outside a college dorm at St. John's College. The police are there because students are being questioned, the type of things that college students might get arrested for at that late time of night. Suffice to say, the police have the perpetrators lined up against the wall and are interrogating them. The policeman says, "What I want you to do now is, don't lie to me. I want you to tell me the truth." And one of the college kids, Johnny's, perks up and replies, "I will tell you the truth. You can tell me what truth is." Now, if you know anything about St. John's College in Annapolis, Maryland, it's that it's famous for its great books curriculum, where students read the foundational texts of Western knowledge: Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, the Bible, and then they talk about them. It's an education like no other. Perhaps that is what motivated that young college student to ask such a bold question. I don't know what happened next to him. I wonder, should we give Pilate the same benefit of the doubt? He asked a famous question right after our gospel reading was the same thing. Jesus has said, "Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." And Pilate asked him, "What is truth?" Was he trying with his question to get at the heart of the matter? Had Pilate been moved by the strange prophet prisoner in front of him? So he asked the question with sincerity. Or was he being sarcastic, disdainful of the ragamuffin presented in front of him that morning? The latter is probably closer to the historical record of what we know about Pontius Pilate. Know him to have been a harsh and brutal politician. But John in our gospel presents him as being somewhat sympathetic, or maybe just pathetic, caught between the desire to do the right thing and the all too human tendency to do the easy thing. "What is truth?" Pilate asks, and Jesus does not reply, at least verbally. Those students from St. John's College might have been able to answer, however, with their knowledge of Greco-Roman thought. They might have said something like this from their seminars. The Greek word for truth, aletheia, has to do with the true perception on reality, and meant a philosophical perception of the way things truly were. Or they might have cited the Latin word veritas, truth, an accurate, factual representation of events. It's probably fair to say that that's what the Annapolis cops were looking for that morning. That's what the Roman governor Pilate was looking for, a literal retelling of the events in this world. The truth that Jesus lived and preached, of course, could not be described by either of those or limited by either of those definitions. Jesus' truth is neither a far-off theoretical proposition, nor is it a dragnet style, just the facts, ma'am, forensic, tactile understanding. The truth of Jesus, the truth of the gospel, is something more than those, something beyond those. They belong to another world, that sort of truth, but it's also more real to this world than any truth you could ever know. What is truth? To try to answer Pilate's question, it might be helpful to explain what this Christ the King Sunday is all about. Why we're suddenly on trial, why we're suddenly in this interrogation here right before Thanksgiving, right before Advent, and right before Christmas. We jump ahead in the story to the scene between Pilate and Jesus. It seems a little out of place. That's because in 1925, Pope Pius XI, you remember him? He declared a new feast day for the calendar, Christ the King Sunday, with the intention of reminding the church and the world about Christ's reign over all creation. The intention of reminding us to work for God's peace in this world. It was a timely reminder, of course. Europe had just gone through the most devastating war on record. Another one was right around the corner. And then a Holocaust, and the rest of the 20th century's woes. The cynic in me wonders if the Pope's declaration of this new holiday was too little, too late. That he was whistling past the graveyard. Christ the King Sunday becomes this rearguard action stuck in at the last second against all the trials and tribulations of modern life. Feels a little off declaring Christ the King, because so much evidence seems to point to the contrary. And while we're at it, got St. John's College students in my crosshairs too, because they would argue, perhaps, this era that we're living through right now, the Enlightenment, the era that was supposed to rescue us from religious superstition and from the primitiveness of religion, the Enlightenment, all that's ever brought us, it seems, is genocide. That we're not really capable of making our own decisions. If you free man, if you enlighten man from something, we still mess it up somehow. And then I would also say, in my crosshairs, that maybe we need a little bit more enlightenment, a little bit more science in our world after the global pandemic we've gone through the last 2 years. We just can't seem to get it right. What is truth? Is Christ the King? Whenever we try to answer that question, be it in 1925 or in 2021 or in 33, we get it wrong. We think there's a war to end all wars. We think the fall of the Soviet Union, first election of our first African American president, whatever comes, and then on the other side of it, we're still left with it. Is Christ the King? What is truth? Whenever we make a little bit of progress, it's clear, in some sense, we right there, freeing Barabbas from the cross and putting Jesus right back up there. Calendar is a funny thing, and it's about to flip. We're about to turn into Advent and our previous year. It's funny that in Jesus' life, at the start and at the end, he was caught up in Roman kingship. Think about it. The story begins with him, his birth story. It's this crisis with the census. Mary and Joseph have to head off to Bethlehem. And then at the end of the story, he's caught up in the gears of Roman imperial power. Jesus of Nazareth wasn't even king of his own life. He couldn't even control those 2 moments. What is truth? Pilate asks. That question echoes century after century. As Christians, of course, we affirm Christ is king in spite of it all. That's what we've been believing or supposed to be believing since Ascension Day. That Jesus is king now, not later, not only at the end of the calendar, but now. The good news is that Jesus has already given us our testimony. He's already provided the witness, provided the testimony. What is truth? Jesus says, I am the way and the truth and the life. Jesus says the truth will set you free. The Greeks, you got to take it on the chin today, they might have believed that timeless truth existed outside of this world. But we believe that truth is given to us in a particular person, in a particular time and place. The gospel I'm quoting here is not a summary of the necessary truths of reason. It's a revelation that shatters and reshapes human reason in light of God's foolishness. Jesus answers Pilate's question, what is truth, by just standing there, staring at Pilate, staring at us, providing us the answer. All of our longing, all of our questions, all throughout our trials, at the end, we find not a force, we find a face staring back at us. Amen.
Amen.